Okay, cool. So the recording is live. So welcome everyone to the second TestHeads events of 2021. Again, obviously we're still remote and we will be for a while with Taoiseach due to tell us how long that will be shortly. So again, the best thing about this was being remote is the fact that we're able to access quality speakers from outside of Ireland as well. And we've had a lot of them over the last year. So no pressure, but John and Sarah, up to you to be the quality again. So this is going to be an interactive meetup, as John's going to talk about in a second. So as everyone, you just sit there for one. Maybe if you just haven't put in the chat where you're actually coming from, so we know where everyone is. It's a meetup. Don't be afraid to stick your camera on for a change. Even if we don't have everyone muted, obviously to talk. I think the lads just said they'd like to see who they're talking to and presenting. And there's going to be some breakout rooms and there's going to be some talks and theory during the talk as well. So if you had a pen and paper to hand as well, that'd be great. But we'll leave John and Sarah, that's okay, to introduce yourselves and let us know the structure of how we're going to do. And this should be quite an interesting one. So enjoy, everyone.
Thank you, Patrick. I don't know if we can live up to what you've just said and all those speakers, but we'll try. So as we've said, this is going to be interactive, so you're not going to hear much from us. We have got a few bits that we're going to talk through that might be able to help you. But where we're coming from tonight is really exploring what quality assurance is. So I used to be a QA manager many years ago, probably 10 years ago. I might be going back there and asking Patrick for a job in the future, who knows? And it was through this stage where it was kind of a bit confusing for me. Is quality assurance still around testing at the end of the process and making sure that we're the gatekeepers at the end? Or, was it about building quality in throughout the software development lifecycle? Or was it something else? And no one could really, as I was exploring this, give me a straight answer. Now, things have moved on a bit, but in my work now as an agile coach, I still see these same challenges of developers working with testers and not necessarily always being nice to each other and supporting each other in a collaborative, supportive way. So we're going to do a couple of things during here. First of all, we're going to talk a little bit about what is quality assurance. Have we got some difference? Is everyone the same? Does everyone think of it in the same way? Then we're going to put you in breakout groups where you're going to try and create a combined metaphor or meaning for quality assurance. And then we're going to give you a couple of tools from systemic modeling, which is what Sarah and I really enjoy doing, which might just be able to help you next time you find that defect that's and you think, oh my goodness, what's going on? Why is the developer writing these defects and not thinking about the customer and all of these things? Maybe we can think of it in a different way. And perhaps this isn't new for you, and it'll be just interesting to see what's going on for others as well. Anything I've missed, Sarah?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, so we'll be hoping to hear. Well, we certainly want to hear from you. It'd be nice to see you if you're happy to turn your cameras on. And like John said, in a while we'll be putting you into breakout rooms and getting you to exchange in smaller groups. I was noticing that we've still got people joining us. So a request also to make sure you've got pen and paper to hand, because we will be getting you to jot some things down on some paper in a while.
Okay, should we make a start, Sarah? I know people are still coming, but I think that will work. So we're going to start by running what we call a theme on quality assurance. And a theme is any topic where multiple people have different opinions and trying to get the group to have more curiosity about other people's point of views on a topic. So for today, we're going to do quality assurance, given that we're at a testing meetup. Has anyone got anything they'd like to know before we begin? No, going once, going twice, sold. Okay, Sarah, are you gonna?
Yeah, I will do. We will be keeping an eye on the chat. So if there's any comments that you want to make, we'll try and spot what's going on in the chat. But also, we're very happy for you to jump in and ask questions as we go along. So like John said, we're going to spend some time thinking about quality assurance. We'll be running this theme, staying together as a group. Then we'll be moving you into breakout rooms and getting you to think about your own individual representations, what quality assurance means to you. And so let's get the ball rolling. John, can I check in with you first? When you're thinking about quality assurance, that's like what?
For me, it's kind of the conscience of the development. So it's kind of that ongoing thing throughout the development life cycle that just keeps coming back. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that?
So it's like the conscience, and it's ongoing, and it's a life cycle. And is there anything else about that life cycle?
Well, it's a software development life cycle, so it's a continuous thing that happens, right from first thinking about what problem you're trying to solve and being involved in that and thinking about what's needed there from a quality point of view, all the way through to it being in production and using the data from production to continually evolve and adapt what's needed.
Continually evolving and adapting what's needed, and it's a life cycle and a conscience. And when it's a conscience, where is that conscience?
It's kind of everywhere around the work that we're doing. So like if I'm in a team, the quality piece is kind of always there and always present.
So for John, it's everywhere and it's all around and always present. And who's not like that? For you, quality assurance, that's like what? And who's got something different? I'm going to have to get you to speak because I can't guess. So let me pick on somebody. Darren, for you, it's like what?
Why do I always get picked on? Quality assurance.
Yeah, quality assurance for you. It's like what?
Jesus, that's a good question. I probably have to agree with John. It's kind of something that's, I mean, it was something that was like, oh, we'll test later, we'll test at the end, and we'll worry about that later. And now it's become this kind of thing where I don't even know if the name quality assurance even suits it. It's kind of this, like, it's gotten so to a point where it's built into the process so much that it should be built into the process so much that it's everywhere, right? So, when you're gathering your requirements, you're thinking about testing. When you started writing code, you're thinking about testing.
Darren, let's just pause you there. And when it should be built in, is there anything else about that should?
Yeah, should's a bad word, isn't it? Do or do not, there is no try, right? Thanks, Yoda. But I guess I say should because, I think that's what a lot of testers are trying to get to. They're trying to get to a point where they're kind of, they're pushing for higher quality earlier. So like, I know I've gone to you go to a lot of testing conferences and talks and stuff, and it's all about this like continuous integration of testing. And I think there was a whole subject on, I think Lisa, she's in the call, she did it. She's written, I think it was a blog she wrote about it. And there's the whole shift left mentality of like, oh, let's put testing really, really early in the process and let's move testing forward. Whereas testing shouldn't be shift left, it should be everywhere. So it's kind of, it's dripped in everywhere. It should be when your requirements are gathered.
So there's a shifting left and it should be everywhere.
Yeah.
And is there anything else about that everywhere?
I guess to me, testing is more like, what is the customer going to do with this piece of software? So if you try and keep that in your head, you should probably, I keep saying should, you probably end up with better software, right? I mean, because like, say you're working on a UI, if you're thinking what's the customer going to do, the customer is going to do whatever. They're going to spill a pint of Guinness over the keyboard, and they're gonna have kids who coming in and unplugging cables and stuff. So you have to start thinking like that as well. So I
Right,
guess
let me
it's a mindset. It's a mindset change.
Okay,
right?
great. So we've got, so for Darren, we've got a mindset, and
Yes.
it's something about shifting it, and it should be everywhere. And I'm just making up that maybe it isn't.
Can I?
Yeah, and SK.
Yeah, Sendel. My name is Sendel, so I just typed in SK there.
Okay,
So, you know,
so for
if
you,
if
quality assurance.
Yeah, so if you look at the traditional definition, right? What we studied and what we have been talking all this place, right? Quality assurance, to a large extent, as per the definition, if you look at it, it's like all the process and the document. It's more of a reviewed. That's how we started when we started our career, right? Quality assurance is more of the documentation, the reviews, and all those things where you are actually not doing any testing, right? And then quality control is the testing work where you try to enact the customer.
So can we just go slow? And for you, quality assurance is like documentation.
No, I'm saying that is what it was earlier on, right? Where we said quality assurance is that part where before doing the actual test, you do the reviews and ensure that at every stage from the design to development to all the stages, you do the necessary reviews, all the, your, desk verification to see that everything is all good by the stage, by the time it comes to the actual quality control, which is your testing. But over a period in the recent times, the whole shift left concept, which is what we are all everyone is pushing through, where all this which was documentation, just the reviews, it's like at this point we are saying that okay, shift everything, the whole testing, the quality control part, which was the actual testing, do it from the start. From every stage, from the beginning, just do that. You might not do the entire piece, but you do little bit, whatever possible at each stage, so that you
okay. And let me just pause you there. And so for you, it's little bit. And is there anything else about those little bits when it's little bit?
It's a testing, right? It's a testing. As I said, the earlier definition, if you go by definition, it's more of the reviews, right? It was not about the actual testing. But now we are saying, and which is what we are all, wherever we're working, we're trying to say that, okay, we have to test as early as possible. The testing team should enter into the cycle as early as possible, right from the design, where we look at the design and we say that, okay, whether the design, the way they're talking about, whether it is testable, whether the function, testers are expected to, think from the customer's point of view and see that whatever design is happening, whether the customer is able to test it, whether he's going to be able to use it. Okay,
yeah, and again, I'm just going to pause you there, SK. Sorry, and I can't quite catch your name. So just notice what we've got, and we've got a little bit, and testing and what used to be and how it is now, and documentation and what the customers need. And for Darren, we've got this mindset change, and it should be everywhere and it should be built in. And for John, it's like the conscience and everywhere. And let's hear from one more person who's got something different to that for you. Quality assurance, Phil.
So I'm the same as everyone else. It should be built in, but it's sometimes not.
And it should be built in, and it's sometimes not. And when it's not built in, then what happens?
It's at the end.
When it's at the end, then what happens?
Sometimes you discover a nasty.
And you discover a nasty, and it's at the end, and it should be built in. And is there anything else about quality assurance when it should be built in?
If it's built in, it's not at the end, so it's not too late.
And when it's built in, where is it when it's not at the end?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay. So we've got, it should be built in, and when it's at the end, you might find a nasty. And for SK, we've got this notion as well of it being built in, and little bit. And Darren, it's a mindset change, and it should be built in. And for John, a conscience and everywhere. And for you guys, there's a lot of you here, and unfortunately can't hear from all of you. Think of how it is for you, quality assurance.
So for you, quality assurance is like what? And what we want you to do is just put that down on paper. So we're going to give you a couple of moments, get a piece of paper, because then you'll be going into your breakout groups and sharing that, so you all get an opportunity to share what yours is. So for you, quality assurance is like what? Does quality assurance have a shape? Does it have a size? Whereabouts is quality assurance?
What do you mean by when you say does it have a size?
Just whatever comes to your mind, and if nothing comes to your mind, these sort of questions are just getting you to try and think in perhaps a different way to what you might have thought about quality assurance before. So rather than just looking at the process, we're looking at it from some kind of metaphorical space. But if something else comes to mind, that's also okay. Maybe it has a color. Perhaps you can see a clear picture in your head of what quality assurance is. Or perhaps for you, it's more like a sound or something you feel.
As for me, it's like a process or activities focused on the processes. It doesn't matter where we apply it, in a development or in a building documentation, everywhere where we can find the problem which stops us, and we solve it, and we can speed up, for instance, or provide a better user experience, cover more requirements in test, for instance.
So just write that down for now, Sergey, and then you're going to be able to share that in your groups. We're just going to do one more thing. I'm just going to give you a couple more moments to write down any notes or draw your picture, whatever's come up with you when we asked what kind of quality assurance is that quality assurance. Does it move? Does it go in a certain direction?
It does, yeah.
What would it feel?
You grow on confidence as you go in the cycle. If you have this assurance in place at every stage.
Growing in confidence. For Sergey, it's a process. And it should be built in for some people, and it's not.
Okay. So you can finish off your notes, but before we put you into breakout groups, we just want to ask you, what are you noticing? What are you noticing that's happened so far in this group with this topic of quality assurance?
There's no clarity. There's no one definition. We all have our own views about what it is.
Yeah. We all have our own definition of what it is.
Yes.
Is there anything else about you all having your own definition? Oh.
Well, yeah. If there are different definitions for each one of us, then the output is going to be different when it comes out. So you don't know whether you're, each one of us is going to reach bring the same output at the end.
Okay. So if you all got different definitions, you might have different outputs at the end.
What I would like to add is like quality, you can understand from where it should be applied. Like what is your domain? For a safety critical system, quality is different. For something, a normal lab like a personal tracker or something, quality is different. So it is somewhat around the environment that you are referring to. So that should be defined before defining the quality.
So something to do with the environment
The domain.
and the domain. Yeah, and we've got lots of different representations of what it is, and there's no clarity. And who's noticing something else?
Lots of diverse thought comes to my mind.
Lots of diverse thought.
And also really kind of diverse situations, right? Kind of, as she was saying, you know, the inputs are different for all of us, right? So the approaches and what we're seeing, quality needs can be different based on those different situation inputs.
Different inputs. Who's noticed something else?
Is it important if you work with a group of people that you all agree on what quality is, so that you've got the same goal and aim?
Yeah.
Is it important that we have the same definition of quality?
Yeah, I guess you could apply that logic to the wider company then as well, because, you know, if you're on a team and you've got one definition of what you think it is, does that apply to the business? Does that apply to the customers? Does that apply to everyone else as well?
Okay, what I'm going to do now.
I like how we dropped the word assurance. I do not believe in the word assurance. Quality is the right space in my mind.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is carry on the conversations in your smaller groups. So you're going to be in groups of 3 or 4. You've written down your kind of meaning or your metaphor for quality assurance. What we'd like you to do, and you're going to have 10 minutes to do this, is come up by the end of a combined metaphor, something you all agree with. So starting to move away from these different thoughts and opinions to something that you're all aligned to. And then we'll get your thoughts and sharings when we get back on that. So let's see what happens. So 10 minutes in your groups, talking about what kind of QA is that QA, using your metaphors or whatever you've written down on your paper to come up with something combined within your group of 3 or 4 people. Any questions before I put you in your group? Okay. Let's move. There we go. Should be good. Yeah, we've got at least 3 in each group now. Oh no. It's always a bit fun because some people jump out as soon as you
once they're told they have to do something, it's like, I'm gone, see you, mate.
Yeah, basically. That's basically it. So I think people started talking a bit more as we got going.
Yeah, there's 2 more here, I think, just Raphael and is it Oliver?
Yeah, I assume they're kind of in limbo somewhere. Maybe they've got because normally you have to press a button, don't you? So.
Yeah, cool. Grand. The timer's handy as well. Yeah, no, it's just, as I said, it's just something different as well. Particularly when they're in a group of 3 now, they don't have a choice. They're going to have to speak because there's only 3 people. You know, it's going to be a case of if you do a group of 9 or 10 with 10 minutes, you can always hide if you like. Because you're always going to have 1 or 2 dominant people in each group who are going to put their hand up and take control usually. But when it's 3, I think there's kind of a shared responsibility that, okay, cool, let's just all have 2 or 3 minutes each and have a chat about it, and then what are we going to come up with together?
Yeah, so just checking where we are with the timing. So we're slightly ahead, Sarah. Always good to be ahead.
Yeah, good crowd as well, 50. 51.
Yeah, it's very good.
It's a very good crowd.
Like you said, maybe it's something a bit different and new.
Yeah, well, actually, I was just looking at the names there as well. There's a few new names and people maybe I haven't been before and stuff as well, which is good. And even when I looked at the RSVP list today, usually whatever's on it, usually cut in half is what you get. So if we have 100 or so, you'd expect to get about 50, but there was a good few names on it now, which were first timers, as in they're members of the group, but they haven't actually attended a meetup before, which is a good sign. So I think it's the fact that maybe people like the interaction as well, which is good. Mix it up and look at doing something like that again.
Yeah,
as opposed to, it is easy when you're listening to someone talk solidly for an hour to kind of switch off and play with your phone or click into your browser or whatever it is. It's easy to do it when you go to a talk or a conference, something as well. People do have a habit of doing it. When you're actually, if you go to a conference, or even if you go to a conference or a meetup and you're told at the start, okay, you're going to be involved in this, you're going to pay more attention in case you get put on the spot in front of everyone else. Because you don't want to go, okay, what do you think of that, Sarah? And all of a sudden you're like, actually, I wasn't really paying attention the last 10 minutes in front of the crowd.
Patrick, so can I just pause you so that I can just quickly run through with John? We're going to do Triune Brain just very briefly, and then say that quite often what happens.
So we're going to come back and do the debrief first.
Yeah, I've got that. You're doing that bit.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing that bit.
No, I'm doing that bit. I'll do the debrief. Oh. Yeah, it's wrong. I'll do that bit because you're doing the next bit.
Yeah, that's fine. You do that bit. And then what we're going to do is talk about the rules and structure and that kind of stuff, and how often that can pop people into the drama triangle. And so we might get things like, it's my fault, I did it wrong, no, he's wrong, or people rushing around to try and sort it out and help others and all that kind of stuff. It's destructive and da-da-da-da. So what we want them to do is to try thinking about where they need to be. Yeah. What are the kinds of things that are going to happen that are going to put them in the drama triangle? Somebody's going to say to them, there's a fault.
Yeah, they find a defect.
Okay. Okay.
And certain things could go there. You could go into rescuer, but more likely you're probably going to go into persecutor, perhaps even go into victim a little bit.
Yeah.
Where does your brain state go?
What kind of things would a rescuer be doing in that specific sub thing?
Perhaps working really late to to kind of meant to be going live tomorrow or in the next week, so just working really long hours to rescue the situation, and therefore it being the same challenge next release and going on and on. That would be a good rescuer behavior for quality being poor.
And so to really get useful use out of the second breakout, where do we really want to put their attention? So we've just got the question, what difference will knowing this make? We've got a little bit more time. We could get them thinking about where they might be.
Last time when we did the Christmas one, we had the Jamboard with the 3 positions on. So then they could perhaps talk themselves through a real situation that they're in at the minute to do with work. Actually talk themselves, obviously not fix it, but just take a position that they're in. And talk through in their groups, what's going on and the different positions.
Yeah.
So I could just relabel the one we did from Agile York to, what's it called? TestHeads.
TestHeads.
TestHeads. And then they can see the image, can't they?
Yeah.
Might be better, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So while I'm doing Triune Brain and Drama Triangle, you can test the water, feel the water, and decide what's going to be the most useful instruction to give in the breakout room, how much time we've got, whether people have asked questions and that kind of stuff, or whether, so yeah, you need to frame the instruction when they go into the breakout room.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
How long have we got, Patrick, before they come back?
2 minutes.
Okay, you're on mute still.
Sorry, just checking my girl. 2 minutes, yeah.
Okay. It's quite an awesome picture, Stephen, that you've got there. Slightly scary, but
you said it's your son. You said it's your son's page, Stephen. So
yeah.
How you doing? That's okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, right. Am I on video now? No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
Okay, sorry about that.
No,
There you go.
It's my son's iPad, and I've given him free reign on it, unfortunately. So I just spotted that there now. Yeah, I've been out of the QA space for quite some time. Few issues at home, and I met Patrick before through TD Left.
Yeah, Baldoyle, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I just saw it coming up the other day, and it says that I might have a look, see what's going on. I've been working in a job that's nothing to do with IT, and it's sort of wrecking my head, and I need to have a look somewhere else anyway. So I just thought I'd jump in and observe, and maybe the next time I might participate.
Good to have you back.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks very much.
There's always a right to pass. It's perfectly fine.
Okay. So if you guys want to chat away amongst yourselves, belt away.
Well, they'll be coming back in them.
The timer should stop now anyway.
Okay. All right. Listen. Anyway, thanks for having me. Okay.
Cheers.
You're very welcome. It's good to see you.
Okay. Thanks.
Yay, some more videos. Fantastic. So, has anyone got something they'd like to share with the wider group from that they learned from their breakout? Just take a few of you.
Yeah, I was in room 10, I think, with Sergi and Kartik. So one of the words that kind of popped up for us was the term collaboration. It's a collaborative process, again, feeding into that whole idea of continuous improvement within processes, also being quite a circular motion, I suppose. Again, feeding back into that continuous improvement idea. So you can keep going, but so we kind of, the two words were collaboration and circular. That took out for us.
Okay, collaboration, and what was the other one?
Circular.
Circular. Okay,
Yeah.
Collaboration and circular. What about a different group?
Well, I could speak for our group if Lana and Tom don't mind. We came up with a metaphor that quality is like providing strawberry ice cream.
Oh. I really want to ask what kind of strawberry ice cream.
Yeah,
Sarah,
you got to tell us more there. We can't have that. You can't leave us with that one, Carl. It's like providing strawberry ice cream. Anything else about that?
Well, the customer asked for strawberry ice cream, but sometimes they get strawberry ice cream with sprinkles.
Ooh. I had more sauce. I was after some strawberry sauce. But I'll take sprinkles. Okay, it's like strawberry ice cream. Sometimes they get sprinkles.
Well, you can choose the topping. That's fine.
What about another group? Let's take one more group. What came out of yours?
So we had QA is like a safety blanket that covers the feature.
Okay, safety blanket that covers the feature.
Is there anything else about that safety blanket?
It protects the team.
Yeah, and you know, in our group, we said that okay, the QA and QC, there is no difference anymore. It's all one. You know, there's no separate activity called QC, which is testing, and then the QA, which is more of, you know, reviewing and doing the static testing. So there's no difference. You know, it's all merged, and you do everything from the start, and you do it at every stage for a progressive improvement in the quality.
There's no QA and QC. Yeah. You do it from the start.
Yeah, it's merged. It's not, you know, two different things to think about and talk about. So it's all one.
Okay, and just thinking about the process we've been through, where we asked a few of you for quality assurances like what, and then we got you to draw it down and put you in the groups and then bring you back. Can you think how this might be useful for you in your work? How might you be able to use some of this stuff we've done?
We need to be more agile.
More agile? What kind of agile?
Is the next question.
I think what has happened is there is a convergence of ideas. Initially, you know, all of us had different ideas. Now it has converged to, it has come to a lesser number of ideas. So probably, you know, we do it, you know, a few more times, we'll all agree to one idea.
Yeah, if we had time, we could keep going, building those bricks up, and then by the end, you'd have something a bit clearer. What about the type of language we're using? Has anyone noticed kind of what me and Sarah have been up to?
Say that again.
Have you noticed kind of what me and Sarah have been up to? What kind of questions we've been asking? How we've been working? What we've been doing?
Open-ended. It's not pointed. It's all open-ended. So you're asking, letting us to explore, and you know, it's open-ended.
A little more abstract, shapes, colors, dimensions.
Abstract, shapes, colors, dimensions. Anything else you've noticed?
Feels like a therapy session about QA.
Therapy session on QA that's somehow managed to lead to a safety blanket and strawberry ice cream. Who knew that this kind of stuff was going to be coming out?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to move on to a couple of tools that, you know, as an ex-QA manager, if I knew then what I knew now, it would have been very useful. So hopefully Sarah's going to take you through those. Then we're going to put you into breakout groups again to give it a try on a real life example that you're going through at the minute. So I'm just going to spotlight Sarah for everyone so you can see her flip charts.
Yeah, so I'm old-fashioned girl. I'm sure that lots of you use Jamboards and slides and everything else, but I've got my trusty flip chart, which hopefully you can see. And we're going to introduce you very, very briefly to two models. You may have come across them before, but they're really useful in trying to sort of notice what might be happening either to yourself or to your colleagues at work when faced with difficult situations. So the first one that we're going to talk to you about is called the Triune Brain. It's a model that dates from the 60s. We know that it's no longer 100% accurate, but it's a really good shorthand for describing what's happening to our state, what's going on for us. So there's a number of ways that you can talk about it. Some people use their hands, some people use these circles, and we've got this elevator or this lift model. So we've got a part of our brain, which is the oldest, sort of the primitive part of our brain, which looks after all of our basic functions. So when we're hungry, thirsty, sleepy, whether we feel safe. It might be the part of the brain you've heard people talking about, the fight or flight instinct. It's the bit where there's not really much choice going on. It's sort of you or me, ready to run, ready to fight, very, very primitive side of the brain. Then we've got, I refer to it as the red brain. We've got this sort of second part, which is slightly more developed. It's the part of our brain that thinks about things like rules. What are the rules?
Oh, we've lost you a minute, Sarah.
Calling France.
Yeah. So thinking about this model, when your co-facilitator who's leading a piece, we lose, what do you think happens to the other facilitator's brain state in that moment?
Have you tried panicking?
Yeah, we start to go into that red brain.
I'm here.
And one of the things, I was just saying that we designed that, Sarah, to show what happens when your co-facilitator goes, what happens to the other facilitator, and where does their brain go, and how do we then get that back up to a functioning state so that you can take over? She's gone again.
She's gone again.
That's okay. So you think about these situations that we're in, and we're going to go into some specifics in a minute around, what happens when we're testing a piece of software and then we find a defect, perhaps in Phil's case, the right at the end when it's not very useful. What happens to our state there? We have this red brain, fight or flight. We have this green brain, sometimes called the mammalian brain. Which is kind of where social rules and contracts come in. So this is where, we're in an unsure environment. Perhaps we're not quite sure what's going on. We're not sure what the rules are. Perhaps like today, for some of you, we're used to having a certain type of session, and then this is an interactive session. So perhaps you're not in the blue brain, which is the top brain, which is neocortex. And this is our thinking brain. And if we think about when we're testing at our best, or when we're bringing that quality assurance or quality at our best, the more time we can be in that thinking brain, the more useful we're going to be in helping meet those customer needs and increasing the quality of the products that we're delivering. So that is one model. I'm just going to share my screen.
I am back if you need me.
Woohoo!
Sorry.
That's okay.
Falcha.
So we've just gone through the different states.
John's just gone through the different states. He went red, green, and blue.
Yeah, that's right. Holy big panic because his co-facilitator had disappeared. Sorry about that. So one of the things that can happen is that when we're in our green brain, it can trigger a reaction in what we call the drama triangle. So if I just stick it up here, and thinking particularly about you guys and when you're testing and doing quality assurance. For example, somebody comes to you and you find a defect. Then one of the things that can happen is that you can feel a bit sorry for yourself and oh, it's all my fault. I'm useless. This is terrible. I can't manage my team. I can't manage what's happening. And you take it all on for yourself. One of the other things that can happen is that you can start looking around for people to blame. I'm sure it must be somebody else's fault. I told them what to do. I knew they'd get it wrong. They always do that. Or you might find yourself working really late, trying to sort it out because the deadline is tomorrow, and you're rushing around trying to fix the problem. And the thing with this, we call it the drama triangle, is it's very destructive, because whichever one of the roles that you take, you sort of drag other people into the drama with you. So if you're angry at somebody, you need to have somebody to blame. And if you are going to rush around sorting it, it's generally because you need to have somebody to help out. And the long-term consequences of these roles, you know, it doesn't take very much to see that somebody who's taking on a lot of the blame, and feels that they can't do anything, that they're maybe blaming themselves, they feel quite powerless, they can quite easily become quite depressed. And this, you know, angry guy, very stressed, high blood pressure, heart attack, all sorts of things going on for here. And the guy or the girl who's staying up late trying to fix the problem, you know, it takes a couple of steps, a couple of events like that, and we're into burnout and serious health problems. So it's not a good place to be. And one of the reasons that we share this model is simply to notice. So it happens to us all. And the reason that we use it as this elevator or the lift is that we're bouncing in and out of these states all day long. We might be in our blue brain, concentrating, working really hard, but we do need to pay attention to the fire alarm at work. And there's no point in being up here working really hard, concentrating, being logical, rational, if we're not connected with our colleagues. So we need to be moving up and down these three brain states all day long. And it's normal to get in a bit of drama. The drama is where the energy is. It shows us that we care. What we don't want to be doing is getting stuck in the drama triangle, getting other people involved, and wasting a lot of time and energy bouncing around on this drama triangle. So if we're sharing these models with you, it's really just to start noticing what's going on for you and thinking about quality assurance. And we've got all these different models. And we started talking about how they were different, and then we put you in breakout rooms and we brought you together, and there's this suggestion that there's maybe some convergence. But what happens to you when there is difference, when there is conflict, when there is diversity? How do you react? What's your state like? And John, we're going to pop people into the breakout rooms.
Yeah, so there's a link to a Jamboard that I've put in the chat. There's 10 frames, but they're all exactly the same, and they're just a picture of the drama triangle. And I've put a couple of the questions that you might have heard Sarah and I ask throughout the session. And we just want you to think about a situation, could be something that's going on for you right now, or perhaps something in the past where you've not got what you wanted from a situation. And just reflect in your groups about what positions or roles did you play during that situation. So for example, it was quite a few years ago now, I was working as a QA manager, and we just kept getting lots of defects coming through. And so I remember storming over to the developer at the time and said, you know, I'm sick of this. Why can't you just write code that doesn't have defects? Got really angry with him. And so someone took us to one side and we had a conversation, and it was like, well, you know, what's important for both of you right now? And of course, we both were really passionate and really cared about what was going on. But, you know, I went from that victim to that persecute position, and it built up through lots of rescuing of working late at night. So quite often we can play all of these roles in our head without anyone else being aware of it. So hopefully you've got all access to the Jamboard. Pick one of the sections in your groups. Just going to see how we're doing for groups. It's fine. So you'd be in 3s or 4s. I might need to move some of you around if you decide not to go in your groups. So we might have a little bit of movement. And you're going to have about 5 minutes each to think of these situations and talk each other through. What we don't want you to do is particularly try and fix anything right now. So just use the time to just kind of get it out of your system, think about, reflect. Any questions about what I've asked you to do? No. Okay. Oh, we're losing people. It's fine. Okay, I'll put you into groups and then we'll see where we're at.
You've done a 15-minute timer. That's what we meant to do? Or was it 5 minutes?
Yeah, no, 15, 5 minutes each person.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
If Sarah's gone in this time, she decided she's had enough of us, has she?
Take a break.
Acted, did you want to go in a group?
Yeah, he's only just joined a second ago on the meetup, actually, just late. So
Yeah. Sorry, Patrick, I was just about.
No worries, mate. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, Grant, good.
Okay.
Thanks for joining.
I'll put you in a group. They're talking about a situation where they haven't got what they wanted in work. So perhaps you found a defect and you were meant to be going live the next day, something like that, and just talking through the different positions. I'll come into your group once you're in there to explain a bit more. Just see where we're at. Okay, I think we've just got one group that's still got 2 in. Okay. So you're seeing the job market pick up now, Patrick, in Ireland? It definitely seems to have been.
Yeah, big time. I was only chatting this morning, actually, Darren. Yeah, particularly since the turn of the year, a few months before Christmas were good now, but January, February, like literally we had a record month in January, and this month looks like it's going to beat it with a week to go, which is good. We have a lot of stuff in play at the moment, and there's a lot of people. We've seen a lot more permanent roles than contract roles last year, and I thought it'd be the other way around, to be honest. And I had a few webinars and stuff on this back at the start of lockdown because I thought there'd be a natural progression to probably more companies hiring contractors as things picked up on project basis. But we've actually seen more companies, sticking their neck out and hiring more permanent people, as we call it, like building out teams. There's been a lot of the stuff we do now is a lot of the companies would be from the States and their IDA they're back with the government and stuff when they come in with their tax laws and that as well. So they come in and they'll hire 15, 20 people at a time when they come in, and it's a burst of stuff. So we've seen a lot of that, and we do a lot of them kind of projects where you'll start it from day one and then kick it off and ramp it up. And then we have it makes it easier because we know so much about them and we know the people in there and the people who are joining the company, 2-3 weeks down the line when we're hiring more people, we know the people they're going to be working with and the personalities they're going to match as well, not just like pressing Control F in their CV and saying, oh, he's got Java CV, like it's literally, it's doing it that way.
Yeah,
So
I mean, the contract market's completely, well, not completely gone, but dying in the UK now with the legislation.
Yeah, it hasn't helped at all. Yeah, and it's crazy.
Right, I'm going to go and check on that group.
Yeah, cool. I'll be back 1 minute. I'm going to just let my dog out.
Okay.
Good state management from John there when I disappeared off Zoom. So what do you say? What are the biggest challenges that you think are facing companies at the moment then?
Well, I suppose first of all, before last year, so many companies in Ireland were hiring people from further afield because there's a small pick of people here, pool wise, and there's so many. Obviously, your Amazons, your IBMs, your Facebooks, and that are paying top dollar for guys, and then smaller tech companies, smaller cool software companies are trying to compete. So a lot of the time we're hiring guys from Spain, Poland, Portugal, and they're not moving over anymore. So now it's been the moving those people to remote working. But I think it's there's so many startup companies in Ireland. There's so many cool software companies. I was just saying to John a second ago, a lot of the work we do is would be with a lot of companies backed by the IDA, like the Irish Development Authority, the government body who bring in all the US companies here, who come here for the Cape the Fall Chain, the Guinness, and the very, very low corporation tax rate, which is the main thing which brings them here. So, a lot of these companies are coming here and they don't mind spending money, and they want to get the best people. So like if they're hiring an automation engineer, they might budget 80K and a Dublin company might budget 70K. So they're attracting their kind of staff. And it's not just about the money either. They're doing cool stuff as well, like, and based on what you're actually doing. So it's changed a good bit, but I think because of the last year and everyone's going to be working, if not fully, like partially or semi-partially remotely going forward, it opens up the pool of people. But there's actually, the biggest issue with that is there's still taxation laws in Ireland about working, say, living in Portugal and working in Ireland, or living in Spain and working in Ireland. Like if you're outside the state more than 6 months, you're not a tax resident, but for the company paying tax here, you're going to have to be here. So there was a big fury a few months ago with Indeed, for example, who have a lot of salespeople in Dublin. I think they have about 1,000 staff or so in their office in Dublin now.
Okay.
And a lot of their staff, similar to Google, were people from outside of Ireland, from different EU countries. And when COVID hit, they all went back to where they were from originally, because what's the point in staying in Dublin and paying 1,200-1,300 quid for a box in the city when you can go back to Warsaw or Madrid or wherever you're from and pay, maybe a third of the cost and live somewhere nice, and they're still earning the wages. But then I think after a while, the company was like, okay, these people are still paying tax in Ireland, are they? No, they're not, because they're not tax residents anymore, so they have to come back if they're working here full time. So I was only speaking to a tax advisor the other day who I work with, who does a lot of our payroll and contractor stuff, and he told me the government are looking at bringing in legislation this year to make it more flexible for companies to hire people outside of Ireland going forward, because there's a big demand and there's not enough people, particularly around the key skills. Like everyone wants automation engineers, everyone wants SDETs, everyone wants performance testers, DevOps engineers, anything like that. You're in demand, and there's a big demand, and every company wants the same kind of people. And there's only so many job specs you can see where every single job spec you see, or every company is, oh, we're doing the most exciting thing and we're working with the most exciting technologies. They're not all doing it. Like, So I like it when some companies are honest and go, we're not working with the coolest stuff in the world, but we look after our staff well and people enjoy working here and you be comfortable. It doesn't always have to be the big sell. We want the 1% and we want this, that, and the other. We want people who are trustworthy and work hard as a good selling point, or we want people who are going to like working here and like our product.
Yeah.
Like it's one company I'm working with recently is a company called Drop. They do they're an app company, but they do kind of recipe sharing. Recipe sharing was what they started originally. But over the last couple of years, they've monetized the company a lot more. And they work with like Kenwood, Bosch, LG on smart tech and IoT kitchen appliances. And the people they like are just literally, they're like anyone who's a foodie or has a blog or anything who love writing about food, or particularly people from different cultures and different countries really appeal to us, because they have, if we get like an Indian person, they'll know a lot more of Indian cooking when they come in, or we get some from Brazil. And like, they're like, we want people technically good, obviously, but they don't have to be the most technical person in the world. We want them to be passionate about what we do, and we want them to love apps, we want them to love food.
Yeah. And
like if you get a company like that that tells you we want people who are actually going to like working here, that's a bigger sell sometimes than, oh yeah, we'll pay that person 5 or 10 grand more than they're earning, then we'll give them a better share option or something. It's like, no, it's not all about that. It's like, at the end of the day, whatever you're on, you're going to give half it back in tax anyway. So it's a case of. So
these guys who are on the call, what kinds of challenges do you think they're facing right now?
There's a mix of people. I was looking through the list there. So I know most of them now. There's a mix of people. Some of them are people who are really good automation testers. Some are more junior to mid-level, which is always great because it means people are trying to learn, which is nice. And some of them are managers and stuff I work with who would be kind of heads of department, heads of QAs and that as well, who would have been more on the flip side, kind of hiring problems and getting processes through and that as well. Particularly in sometimes larger companies when they're trying to hire people and they have an issue getting sign off, or HR want to speak to people, or they just slow stuff down. It's and then they lose somebody. Whereas if you have a software company where you're dealing with the CTO, who's also one of the co-owners and one of the founders, it's like, okay, Grant, I can just sign this now. Let's get it done before he goes and interviews with Facebook or IBM or something. And because a lot of people probably don't want to work for the biggest companies either as well. They like having the freedom. Like there's so much, like for example, I have a guy who's going to be offered, we offered him this afternoon a very big offer, an architect now. It's a big 6-figure offer, but like he has another offer. Well, IBM were trying to get him to work for them, and he's made it clear to me that he wants to take the smaller software company I'm working with. They're well backed and there's some really good tech entrepreneurs behind them. But like IBM are going in there and it's like, grand, they're going to pay him a shed load of money. But he said to me, I'm just going to be stagnant and do exactly what I'm doing in Guidewire, where he's on at the moment for the last 5 years. He said, if I'm taking a new job, it has to be something where I'm actually going to have a bit of a challenge and I can actually have a real opportunity. And, they're backing him by, instead of giving them a bigger salary, they're going to give him more stock options and encourage him to work for it when they're smaller as well. So people like that. People like having an input as well, but it's all about what you're actually doing. Like if you're good at what you do and you have a choice of where you can work, it makes it easier. Obviously, if you're under pressure or if people are being made redundant, like in the last year in some like travel tech companies or Ryanair's or Aer Lingus and that kind of stuff, obviously companies that aren't making money at the moment, they're obviously a bit more under pressure because they have bills to pay. If you're actually in a job and you're comfortable and you think, okay, maybe I would like to move, but it would have to tick these boxes for me. You'd be surprised. It's very, very rarely I'm looking for a lot of money. Like it's very rarely that. Like it's usually like, oh, just bored, or I need to kick up the arse, or the company I work for is saying that we're going to come into the office 4 or 5 days a week next year. I have no interest in that, or whatever it is. Everyone has their own everyone has something that they're interested in. It's a different sell for everyone. As about understanding.
There's triangles, aren't there? I can't remember what they are now, but I know there's one where it's you want to be stretched at work and you want to feel empowered, and there's a lot more to job satisfaction than the money. Well,
even I flipped it back because even I moved job in October there, and I was in my last job for 5 years with Harvey Nash, where I was in charge of tech here in Ireland. And Harvey Nash are a massive brand worldwide, is with 3,000 or 4,000 staff, and it's quite maybe a bit like the IBM and the tech side. They're very stagnant, make a lot of money, very stagnant. You're always going to do well there and be financially happy and that kind of stuff, but it's just literally you just kind of plateau. And then a few months ago I was like, oh, I'm kind of bored. And my old boss in Harvey Nash went to a smaller company, a startup, really, but going 6-7 years, but still relatively building startup on the tech side. And here I mean, he's like, I'm starting here next month. Do you want to come work with me? We build this out together. And I was like, yeah. And even I had another offer at the time, which was more money. And it was, at the end of the day, it wasn't a massive difference after tax. I always go back to after tax, you get half it. But I was like, yeah, but I'll enjoy work with him. Me and him work well together because we're good mates as well. And we build it out. And since I've been in there in October now, it's been great. But literally that was the other offer I had was again from a pretty big, large established group who wanted me to come in and take over tech for them in Ireland. Whereas I was like, oh, I'd rather just work with some of the cooler, smaller software companies I like working with and being able to not have to answer anyone.
So these people, they're currently in the breakout rooms. What would really make a difference to them, do you think, right now? What's the most useful takeaway?
Generally it's about product and what they're actually working on, and the autonomy they get as well. Like a lot of people, when they go into a new job, obviously if you're going to a new job, there has to be either a step up or there's a money jump, or there's obviously not as much since March now, but the commute was always a big thing as well. If people got a job closer to home and didn't have to travel to the office every day and that kind of stuff. But I think the biggest thing whenever we work with somebody is that they like their product or they like their software and that they can buy into what they're doing. You're not just going in there for the sake of, if you go to work in a company and you think their product's shit, why would you go work there? That's just crazy.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you there again, Patrick, just to decide what we're doing next. So they'll be back in a minute or so, Sarah. So
yeah,
we've got a bit of time.
We've got quite a lot of time, haven't we?
I mean, we don't need to use it all.
Yeah, we're planning to bring it to an end by the half an hour, so we can just go. What are you noticing? What difference does knowing this make?
Hey, yeah.
Good boy. So we've got people who are managing to successfully fly through space a lot better than me, who fell off Zoom, and I'm really sorry about that. Bloody
Good.
technology.
What are you telling everyone for? I told everyone that was planned, Sarah.
Oh yeah, sorry. So we could actually prove what happens to people in their brain states when this kind of thing happened.
A big reintroduction instead.
Yeah,
backed by popular demand.
For those, because I spotlighted Sarah, if you did want to get back to gallery view, then you'll need to go into the top right-hand corner and click gallery. It says view and then gallery, and then we can see everyone equally again. Or you might just want to look at Sarah, and that's perfectly okay as well. Not for Sarah, but
not for me. But I won't know because I've got you all in gallery. I've got them all in gallery view, so it's fine. I've got these, and it's good to see these faces now. It's good to see that we've got people on, and we've sent you off into these breakout rooms with the invitation just to chat about what it's like, and whether this was new to you, whether it's something that you'd already been aware of. What difference does knowing this make? So who's got something that they'd like to share with the group? Something that you learned or that you shared in your breakout room? Yeah. SK?
No, I couldn't get your question actually. Sorry.
Okay.
I can go. The three of us ended up talking about. I guess we got kind of derailed and just talked about quality on a kind of bigger level, but we started with the kind of your drama triangle there, and I think the three of us had been all three roles at one point, right? And I guess this is something I'm kind of aware of anyway now, but at the time I wasn't. So it's very easy to be like, the second you become the victim, it's really, really easy to just go give out to somebody else, right? It's just really easy. The first emotion you get, you're angry. So you're going to find the person that you're angry with. You're just going to give out to them. I think it takes a weird level of like, I don't know, maybe emotional intelligence to sit back and go, okay, right, I'm angry, but calm down. Calm down. I'm not going to go give out to that person. I'm going to go think and try and like realize why I'm angry and try and acknowledge that and kind of make peace with it. So, I mean, I've definitely, from my point of view, played all three roles at one point, you know, and even the rescuer might have been, you see something else happening in the corner and you kind of go over and, you know, inject yourself into the conversation. So I guess that's kind of where we came from, that like, it's funny to think that the victim can kind of blow up into either role and that we've all done it. Like,
one of the things I noticed with this drama triangle is a lot of people see like the persecutor as the bad guy in this and the victim as the, you know, the good person. And one of the things that we learn when we work with the drama triangle is that all roles are equal. We're an equal opportunities coach. So, you know, whether you're in that victim role or the persecutor role, you're all equal in this drama. There's no good or bad here. It's just noticing.
Yeah, and recognizing how easy it is to slip into one, two, or all three roles yourself on the triangle. So who's got something different to that?
I was just glad John popped into our room and kind of helped us frame the persecutor role a little bit. I think we may have been misinterpreting that a little bit, and I guess we kind of went on a tangent. And then how do you if you're in a meeting such as maybe mob programming, which Lisa brought up the example, how do you be conscious of your surroundings to make sure people aren't falling into one of these roles? And if you observe it, how do you bring them back to the conversation? Was a topic we talked about. Did I say that right, Lisa?
Yeah, so how do you be conscious of what's happening for others? And once you've noticed it, what do you do about it? Yeah, without making them be wrong and without sort of adding to the drama.
Exactly.
Yeah. And who's got something different? Recognizing that we've all been on the triangle, taking the roles, and then once you do know about it, what do you do about it? Any other insights that you got from your breakout rooms?
Well, we see. Okay, what we saw was, I mean, initially when something goes wrong, it's always the blame which comes onto you. You are victimized. So the initial reaction generally is that to how to deflect that the blame which has come onto you. So see, you can be angry. Okay, I mean, you generally get angry, but how do you react onto it? So without having something in front of you solid, you cannot go back and just shout at the other person, which doesn't work. You make the problem even bigger. So the first thing is that to dig onto it, to see, look at the problem and see where the problem is, and to make it clear that, okay, boss, it's not a problem. You're actually not right to blame onto me. Okay, that's the first thing. So what is to be done onto that? So it's to see what's the problem, understand it, and go back and say, boss, it's not a problem. It's not something that you could blame me. The next thing is to see that where the problem is, and then to see how to, sometimes it could be a problem, but it's not exactly you who created the problem, but it might have happened. You might have been in that channel somewhere. So the next thing is to figure out, what do you do to, see that, figure out a way how to solve that issue. Even if you're not the one who created it, but can you add, can you do something to solve it or resolve it quickly with some solution? Sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't have it. So that's one way of looking at it. The other thing what we discussed was, like, sometimes this argument is going on, and you obviously it's the drama is unfolding, and both the group, I mean the other person and myself, we are we are in an argument, and we know that, okay, it's not going anywhere because nobody is willing to accept a point of view, and it's more of a blame. So sometimes it has blown up and it has gone to escalation that I've seen, which other people getting involved in all that. And sometimes I've seen, probably I've experienced, where we have decided to take a step back and say that, okay, now let's leave it for now and we'll come back onto it again tomorrow. So that has helped a bit, where even though we are not happy going out of that meeting or the discussion, that heated discussion, but next day when we go back, probably we have had enough time to think over it, look at the other person's point of view, and also look at our point of view. And
one of the models that, so we've got another one moving on from that, and I think it's going to link in with what you're saying. One of the things that we find is really useful is to separate evidence, inference, and impact. So you're saying find out where the problem is. So actually going down to the evidence, what are you seeing or hearing? What is the stuff that nobody can argue with? And then you're not putting any of your stuff on. You're not blaming anybody. You're not feeling sorry for yourself. You're just sort of saying it as it is. This is what I've seen. This is what I've heard. This is what I'm making up about it. This is what I'm thinking. And this is the impact that it's having. And when you can give that evidence-based feedback, it's a lot easier then to present somebody with some information that they can hear without them going off into their drama triangle. Because the interesting thing with all of this is to notice what state you might be in. And we've talked about, recognizing where you are, and you might be angry and that you're going to have all these reactions. And Darren was saying, it'd be really good if you could say, oh, I'm really angry just right now. So yeah, okay, notice where you are and know that other shit is happening for other people. And there's no point in you trying to talk to somebody when you're in your blue brain if they're in their red brain, because they just can't listen. And we've got a really good example. We work with the health service. And if you think about doctors, they're in their blue brain, they've got their x-rays, they've got their MRI scans, this kind of stuff. They're up here, they're logical, rational. You just told somebody that they've got some terminal disease. They're in their red brain. They're no longer feeling safe. They cannot hear what the doctors and nurses are saying to them. And so it's, this is quite an extreme example, but this is going to be happening for you guys at work. when you've just told somebody that there's a problem and then they're panicking, thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to solve this? I need to get home, or, you know, I need to stop working because I need to go and be with my kids. They're panicking. You might be talking as rationally and as logically as you can, but they just aren't in capacity to hear it. So it's a really useful tool to then be noticing what's happening for others and adjusting how you're communicating with them so that they can hear what you're saying.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So any other insights or observations that you've got from your breakout rooms? Archie, are we
To be
hearing
honest,
from you?
Sarah, I think, yeah, I'm speaking. Yeah, so the thing, like, Sarah, what I think from my perspective is, like, you know, we have this innovation R kind of concept in which, you know, you talk about the things. It's like, it's totally different from the work, but sometimes, you know, like, it ends up talking about like different ideas. Somebody might be facing some problem and they will be jotting down their points, like how we can fix that thing. And it comes from different teams. So it does not make any sense. Like, you might be facing some problem in your development phase. Some might be facing some other problems in their development phase. So what comes into that particular picture is, like, you know what, one problem is always depending upon the other problem. So how you gonna, you know, like, solve that problem is, like, you need to, you know, like, reverse engineer the solution. Say for an example, if some team devise like, oh, we can do this interesting stuff in this part of thing, and that thing will not be very useful for their development phase, but, you know, when we discuss those things with the other teams, what happens is, like, there might be something they are being, you know, like, stuck on, and they might have end up getting something new from that thing, and that might solve their problem. Otherwise, like, what happens, like, you keep on discussing those particular bottlenecks, like, we are stuck on this thing. And
so one of the things that
not
we try and do, Archie, when we're looking through these, and a few of you talked about problems, is try and move people to outcomes. So it's quite easy for us to talk about what problems are going on for us, what challenges, and stay in that level. And one way we can move people to outcomes is to ask them, what would you like to have happen? So when people are talking about, oh, it's a problem that we're finding all these defects, and you know, whatever the challenge may be, not if they're in the red brain, but when they get back into that green brain state that we talked about, asking them what would they like to have happen can give you a real energy shift into trying to move into kind of a different focus and a different perspective in the way you work.
Thanks, Tom.
And it's something, if you've got kids, it's something that you can try with your kids. So you know, Mom, Paul's just done this. You know, they come whinging, and you can just say, okay, and he's just done that. And when he's just done that, what would you like to have happen? So they're the sort of questions that you can use in a work environment. You can use them in coaching, and you can use them pretty much day to day. Just as John says, to move people gently from the problem without dismissing the problem, to be looking towards a more outcome focused state.
If you just dismiss the problem, then you're likely to get them more into the red brain, probably start the drama up again. So we have to acknowledge it and then move them gently to the outcome.
Yeah.
Okay, we're coming.
But that's interesting, John, as well. Like, you know, you always cannot quantify the outcome. Like, what exactly is the outcome you're aiming for? So you're part of saying the green brain part. So, you know, like, with the human tendency, you will not be always 100% satisfied. You will always want more. Yeah. So
it's a journey, and we start, but out of all of the times I've asked people that question, people have always given me a response. Might not be the complete picture of what they'd actually like to have happen, but it starts to get them thinking in a different way, and going from kind of thinking about the problem to actually, okay, well, you know, as Sarah said earlier, we only get in drama when it's something that we care about. In order to get into drama, we need to care. And so if we care about something, then we must have an outcome in mind that we want to focus towards, the thing that got us into that drama to start with. So we've got about 5 minutes left. So we just want to open it up to any more general questions that people have got. So we've gone through this journey over the last hour and a half, started off with kind of seeing what people's metaphors or thinking was around quality assurance, then created some combined metaphors in your groups, came back and talked about how you might be able to use some of these tools in your work. And then we went through a real life demonstration of the Triune Brain, which was fantastic, Sarah, thank you for that. And the drama triangle, and we gave you some opportunity in your breakouts to discover that and explore that in a bit more detail. Any questions about what we've covered or anything in? I'll take any question. Never not answered one yet.
Yeah, John, you said the Triune Brain. Could you spell that?
Triune.
Okay, cool.
So it's from the three brain state. So the Triune Brain, it's from the 60s. It's a guy called Paul MacLean. But like we said, we know that it's no longer accurate anatomically. So another way of referring to it is just the three brain state to indicate that we've got these different parts of our brains which look after different things.
I have to ask, what makes it no longer accurate? What's the newer reasoning?
Because it's not how your brain was created. So there wasn't this concept where at first there was just a reptilian brain and then mammalian and then a neocortex. The brain actually evolved with all states over time. And so if you use this concept with someone who is from that scientific background, they get very upset at you. And so we try and you probably get into the drama triangle very quickly. So we try and make it as clear that it's a conceptual model and not actually how the brain grew over millions of years or changed over millions of years.
But I quite like it. So I quite like the idea that the red brain is sort of like prehistoric man. And, you know, I feel quite affectionate towards my, John knows this, I've got an angry dragon. So Darren, you were saying earlier on about noticing when you're angry. And one of the things that we do in our work, we make what's called rough guides to ourselves. And it's to say, what are you like when you're angry? So when I'm angry, I'm like an angry dragon. And I just like, and I puff around and I walk and I stomp. And my family know now that when I'm being an angry dragon, they don't really need to do anything. I'll just go for a walk around the block and I'll just like bitch, quite honestly, about people or situations and just let off steam. And it's a literal steam. And then I'm not angry anymore. And I feel that's sort of like, that's my angry dragon. It's my red brain. It's and it's okay. And I recognize it. And other people who work with me recognize my red brain. They know that if I'm in my angry dragon, the last thing that I need is somebody to hold me down and say, oh, could you just look at this? Or could you do that? Because I just need to go and let off steam. And then for the green brain, it's that sort of what are the rules? And I can picture the Greeks walking around in togas, sort of structuring society and what's the place and how do things work around here. And then there's this sort of nowadays brain when we're logical and rational theoretically and analysing things. So I quite like the idea of the historical development, but it's no longer known to be anatomically correct. It's just a shortcut so that we can describe our brain states.
I've put a link to the book where a lot of this stuff was first kind of written about, which is Caitlin Walker's book, From Contempt to Curiosity. I've done the UK link. I couldn't find the Irish link. So
there is none, so you're good with that.
Okay, there is none. Okay, we won't get into that debate discussion.
We might get. We're getting one. We're getting one. I think we're getting one. There's an Amazon hub opening in Ireland soon, I think.
Okay, but at least you've got the details for the book. So whatever you use to get books, you can find that. Any other questions? No. Stunned silence, Sarah.
Yeah, well, I'm busy typing. If you're interested in finding out more about the work that John and I do, so it's creating the conditions where groups can collaborate, but it starts off with doing stuff on yourself. And it's a really gentle, fun, light-hearted way of getting to know your angry dragon. You might be an angry dragon, you might be an ice queen, you might be a Rottweiler. John, what are you like when you're at your worst?
I'm like a freight train that won't stop.
A freight train that won't stop.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's all about getting to know what you're like, what your colleagues are like, recognizing your foibles, and learning to work with them. We've got models that will help recognize conflict in others and then what to do about it, diffuse it before it gets to explode, giving good feedback, amplifying difference, all this kind of thing. If you're interested in learning more, then we've got training courses called Clean for Teams. We're running Clean for Agile Teams in June, and it would be great if any of you wanted to come along and join.
Yeah, if you want to share that information with me in the morning, I'll send it out to everyone, all 2,000 members we have on the mailing list. Just a few people didn't get to attend, so you might catch up with this tomorrow as well and might want to look at the link as well. So if you share that with me in the morning, we'll make sure everyone sees it, if that's okay.
Brilliant.
Okay.
I think
Brilliant. Thank you.
I think there'll be some eyes who want to see that. If that's pretty much us, thanks a million. That was a few WhatsApps during the talk from people as well, saying how much they were enjoying it, which was great to hear. So that was really good, and I think everyone will agree that was certainly something different than what we've done, particularly since we went online since last March. So we've had so, I said at the start, it's so easy when people are talking for an hour to be on your phone and be on the browser and looking at stuff as well. When you know you're actually going to be asked questions, or you're going to be involved, I think people pay more attention. I think a lot of people will be glad they did as well. A lot of relevant information there, so it was brilliant. So thanks a million for giving up an hour and a half of your time on a Tuesday evening, John and Sarah. Really, really appreciate it. And the really big crowd, numbers wise, at 50 here, which is brilliant as well. So we'll share. Obviously, the recording is going to be a bit different in this one because we've breakout rooms and that as well. People are gone away, but I think it's still going to be relevant for some people. And I know I'll have messages this evening and tomorrow morning saying, oh, "Hi, Paddy, I missed it. Can you send me the link?" So we'll share that in the morning, and we'll share maybe if you want to drop over the link for the book as well, John. Anything you'd recommend on the topic would be great. If you want to send me an email in the morning with the link to your courses and any books and anything else you'd recommend, we've just put all the information out together as well. I think there's a few little nuggets there that people might want to pick up on, so we can share that with everyone there. Yeah, that's probably the best thing to do.
Yep. Okay, we'll do.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Our next event will be next month, the end of March, the 23rd, I think. I don't have my calendar in front of me. It's the second last Tuesday. So we have that booked already. So we'll put the details of that out probably at the start of March for everyone. So keep an eye on that one. And we're booked up for April as well. And we're booked up for May, I think. So with a few excellent speakers and topics coming up again the next few months, but I just always say it every single month. If you fancy presenting or fancy talking to sometime, put your hand up. It's great. There's no pressure. It's very relaxed. You know, it's a good place to start as well if you haven't maybe done something like this before as well. And particularly if you want to come up with something innovative or something clever like John and Sarah have done tonight, which is very different. We'd love to have more different stuff and innovative stuff as well, and anything interactive. I think me and Darryl have a chat with this separately, but I think we'll definitely look at maybe doing something interactive every couple of months now going forward. I think it's a really good idea to have it this way. And I think, like, even looking at the attendee list, there's a lot of people here who were here for the first time tonight as well, which is great. So obviously it struck a chord with some people when they looked at what was on the abstract before and looked at it as well. So that's a really good sign. But Dar, anything else?
No, that's it. I mean, just to echo Paddy's words there, if you're nervous about speaking in front of a crowd, speaking on Zoom is much easier. Yeah. So I mean, haven't done both. You know, personally, I prefer the crowd because I'm insane. But you know, yeah. but speaking on Zoom is it's grand. You can do it from your own house as well. It's nice and relaxed, and we're a pretty nice crowd. So I highly recommend giving speaking a go.
Yeah, cool. Okay, great. So thanks again, John and Sarah. If we're here in Ireland, you'd have a big pool of us, but obviously they're funded it remotely that way. So we will see you all next month, guys. Okay, take care.
Yep, take care. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Great evening. Yeah, lovely.
Thanks.